Okay, so like imagine this. A company decides to go all in on Bitcoin. And I'm not talking just dabbling.
Yeah.
We're talking their entire treasury.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see that level of commitment. It's not just a one-time thing either.
Right.
They've been steadily buying Bitcoin for a while now.
Yeah. And this latest purchase it kind of cements it, solidifies their position.
Exactly.
And that's what we're going to deep dive into today. So we've got this report about them buying another huge chunk of Bitcoin. It's got everyone talking. It's like the talk of the town.
Yeah. Yes.
27,200 Bitcoins, just like that.
That's not your average Bitcoin purchase. That's a significant amount of money. We're talking $2.03 billion in cash to make this purchase. It brings their total holdings to a pretty mind-boggling 279,420 Bitcoins.
Which, for those keeping score at home, that's roughly $23 billion.
At current market prices, it's a lot of money.
It is serious money.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so let's talk about how they're doing this. Funding these massive purchases. They're not just printing money, are they?
No, they're not printing money. What they're doing is they're actually selling company shares to raise the capital to purchase the Bitcoin.
So it's kind of like trading pieces of their company for Bitcoin. It's cold.
It's a very bold move.
Yeah.
It suggests a very deep conviction in Bitcoin's potential to the point where they're willing to dilute their ownership to acquire more. They've sold about 7.8 million shares since August.
Yeah.
Bringing in around $2 billion. So that's a lot of faith in this one asset.
And it's not just blind faith, though, right? They're tracking what they call their Bitcoin yield.
Yeah, that's their way of kind of measuring how well their strategy is working. From October 1st to November 10th, their Bitcoin yield was 7.3%.
That's pretty good for just over a month.
And if you look at the whole year, their Bitcoin yield is 26.4%.
That's not bad at all. It seems like their bet is paying off, at least for now. But here's where it gets even more interesting, I think. This latest purchase happened between October 31st and November 10th, right when Bitcoin was hitting new all-time highs.
Yeah, and that's a powerful move. Buying at the peak of the market, kind of like a vote of confidence, suggests that they think this bull run might not be over yet. They're saying we think it's going higher.
Yeah, and speaking of going higher, their returns have been pretty phenomenal.
There's a tracker called Saylor Tracker, named after their chairman, Michael Saylor. That shows that their Bitcoin investment has more than doubled in value.
So they're over 100% ROI.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Just a testament to their conviction, I guess, and their timing as well. Bold strategy. Has yielded some pretty good returns. And with all this buying, they've become the biggest corporate holder of Bitcoin.
Bigger than everybody else.
By far. Marathon Digital and Riot platforms are also players, but their holdings are dwarfed in comparison to MicroStrategy. It's kind of like they're in a league of their own.
Yeah, they're like in their own universe when it comes to Bitcoin.
Pretty much.
Okay, so they're all in on Bitcoin. What does that actually tell us about their belief in its future? What are they seeing that maybe we're not?
Well, I think they're clearly not just riding a short-term wave.
Yeah.
This is not about making a quick buck. It's about a long-term play. They're seeing Bitcoin as a potential disruptor in the world of finance.
So you're saying they're betting on a revolution?
I think their actions suggest they believe Bitcoin has the potential to become a major force in the global economy. It's a bold vision. But it does come with some inherent risks.
Because, let's be honest, Bitcoin is volatile.
It is incredibly volatile.
Yeah.
It's a high-stakes game. While this strategy could lead to enormous gains, they are also exposed to substantial risk.
Yeah.
This investment could lose value just as quickly as it gained it.
So high risk, high reward.
Exactly. It's almost like they're playing poker with their company's future. But it's not a blind gamble. They are tracking their returns, analyzing the market, making strategic moves.
I mean, this is wildly different from how most companies manage their investments. I don't know any companies that are putting their entire treasury into something as volatile as Bitcoin.
It's true. Most companies are much more risk-averse, looking for stability. They like things like bonds and real estate.
Yeah, the more traditional route.
Yeah.
MicroStrategy is kind of going rogue here, breaking the mold. Challenging the status quo.
Yeah, they're taking a very different approach to corporate finance.
So the question is, are they visionaries or are they reckless gamblers?
That's a great question, and it's one that we'll need to explore a little bit further.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm hooked. This is way more exciting than watching the stock ticker.
Let's dig a little deeper, see if we can kind of unravel the logic behind this daring strategy.
Let's do it.
They're playing in a different world almost.
It really is. Like, are they onto something here? Could this be the start of like a whole new way for companies to handle their money?
It's certainly a step in that direction.
Yeah.
I mean, their actions, especially their continued success, like it kind of lends some legitimacy to Bitcoin,
Yeah.
and it could inspire other companies to at least think about it, consider it, you know?
As a viable investment.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we could actually see like a domino effect
Yeah.
where more companies start jumping on board.
It's definitely possible, especially if MicroStrategy keeps seeing these returns. I mean, imagine a world where holding Bitcoin is just as common as having a company savings account.
I mean, that's a wild thought
Yeah, it really changes the whole financial landscape.
as we know it.
Exactly. And it's not just about following MicroStrategy's lead. It's like their actions are forcing this broader conversation about like alternative assets. It's like they're shaking up the status quo and raising questions that maybe a lot of traditional investors have been avoiding.
Yeah. I mean, let's not forget there's still plenty of people out there who think this whole thing is just a bubble. All hype, no substance.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely a big debate about that.
Yeah.
It's been raging since Bitcoin first came out. And to be fair, there are some valid concerns.
Yeah.
Volatility is definitely a big one. I mean, even seasoned investors get nervous when they see how much Bitcoin can swing.
Yeah. And there's that whole thing about, it's been used for some shady stuff in the past.
Exactly. I think it's important to remember, though, that any new technology can be used for good or bad.
Yeah.
I mean, the internet went through a similar thing.
Oh, for sure.
It's not about demonizing the technology. It's about understanding its potential,
Right.
but also the risks.
Yeah.
And then figuring out how to deal with those risks.
So it's about like a nuanced approach rather than just dismissing it outright.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We need to look at both sides, the good and the bad. And that's kind of what MicroStrategy is doing. They're forcing that conversation on a bigger scale.
They're like the Bitcoin evangelists almost.
In a way. Whether you agree with them or not, you can't deny they're pushing the boundaries of traditional finance.
Yeah.
And really sparking this debate that we need to have.
So let's bring it back to like the average investor, like me.
Okay.
What can we learn from this whole MicroStrategy thing? Should we all be running out to buy Bitcoin?
That's a really personal decision.
Okay.
It depends on your risk tolerance.
Yeah.
Your financial goals. There's no one-size-fits-all answer here.
So no hot stock tips for me, huh?
I'm afraid not.
Okay.
But I will say this. This whole situation really highlights the importance of diversification.
Right.
It's never a good idea to put all your eggs in one basket.
Especially when it comes to something like Bitcoin.
Especially with a volatile asset like that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Do your research. Understand the risks. And only invest what you can afford to lose.
Don't bet the farm on Bitcoin.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's good advice for any investment. But even if we're not all converting our savings to Bitcoin, MicroStrategy's move still sends a pretty powerful message.
It does.
It's a sign that Bitcoin is becoming more legitimate.
Yeah.
It's being taken seriously by more and more institutions. That's a trend worth watching.
Yeah, it's not just like a fringe thing on the internet anymore.
Exactly. It's becoming more mainstream, and that's a big deal. But that mainstream acceptance also brings some new challenges.
Oh, sure.
We need to figure out how to regulate this new asset class.
Right.
Protect investors. Ensure its responsible use.
So it's not just about the potential for profit. It's about like, how do we handle this whole new world responsibly?
Exactly. That's where things get really interesting. How do we balance the innovation with the regulation?
Right.
How do we protect consumers while still letting things grow?
Yeah.
These are questions that we're going to keep debating as Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies become more part of our lives.
It really is like watching a financial revolution unfold.
Yeah, in a way it is. It's a paradigm shift. And MicroStrategy is right in the middle of it, pushing the boundaries, making us confront this whole changing world of finance.
So I got to ask, do you think they're going to keep buying Bitcoin?
Well, they haven't said anything specific, but their history suggests they're not afraid to double down.
Right.
They seem to have a vision and they're going for it.
So stay tuned, folks. This story's far from over. There's definitely more to come.
Absolutely. It's a saga worth watching.
For sure.
It has the potential to impact all of us in some way.
So what's the big takeaway for our listeners today? What should they be thinking about as they go about their day?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that the world of finance is changing fast. And we can't afford to be stuck in the old ways of thinking. We have to be open to new ideas, but also be cautious and informed.
So embrace change, but proceed with caution.
Exactly. The future is uncertain, but it's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah. And maybe a little bit crazy, too. Like, who would have thought that a company buying a Bitcoin would be, like, front page news.
Right. It really shows you how much things are changing. It's almost like we're watching, I don't know, like a financial revolution happening right in front of us.
Yeah.
And nobody really knows how it's going to end.
It makes you wonder, like, could Bitcoin actually become a global currency one day? I mean, is that what Microstrategy is ultimately betting on here?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, there are arguments on both sides. Some people think Bitcoin has, like, all the right stuff to become a major global currency. Others are still skeptical.
Okay, I'm all ears. Lay it on me. What makes people think it could actually replace, like, traditional currencies?
Well, the people who are really into Bitcoin, they talk about its decentralized nature.
Oh.
No single entity controls it, not governments, not banks.
Right.
It's also designed to have a limited supply, so it can't be inflated like some fiat currencies can.
Okay.
And then there's the censorship resistance. Transactions can't be easily blocked or reversed. Yeah.
Which can be a big deal in some countries with unstable political systems.
So it's kind of like digital gold. I've heard that before.
Yeah, that's a common comparison.
Okay.
But then, you know, critics, they say that Bitcoin is way too volatile to be a currency that we use every day.
Right.
Its value goes up and down way too much.
Yeah.
It makes it really hard to price things if you don't know what it's going to be worth tomorrow.
Exactly.
And then there's the whole issue of adoption.
Yeah.
For Bitcoin to be a truly global currency, it needs to be used by everybody, businesses, individuals.
Yeah.
And we're not there yet.
Yeah. And then there's that whole other debate about, like, the environmental impact of Bitcoin mining.
Oh, yeah. That's another big one.
It uses a lot of energy.
Huge energy consumption. So there are questions about its sustainability.
Yeah.
It's a complex issue for sure. No easy answers. But whether or not Bitcoin actually becomes like the global currency, its impact on finance is undeniable.
Oh, yeah. For sure. It's already shaking things up.
Even my grandma's asking me about Bitcoin these days.
I mean, it's gone totally mainstream. It's disrupting everything, challenging all these old assumptions.
Yeah.
Making us rethink money and value.
It's like mind-blowing, but also kind of scary.
Yeah, change can be unsettling, but it can also exciting.
For sure.
I mean, this is a time of, like, massive innovation, experimentation. Things are changing really fast.
So who knows what the future holds, right?
Nobody knows.
Well, we've covered a lot today, from Microstrategy's crazy bet on Bitcoin to the future of finance. It's been a wild ride.
It's been a really interesting conversation.
Yeah.
I hope our listeners feel like they've learned a lot.
Yeah, and I hope they feel like they can go out there and, like, explore these topics more on their own.
Absolutely. Make their own decisions.
Yeah.
This deep dive has definitely given us all a lot to think about. It really has.
So big thanks to our expert for joining us and breaking down this whole crazy world of cryptocurrency and finance.
You're welcome.
Until next time, everybody, stay curious and keep asking questions.
Absolutely.